What's up guys, Keenan Cornelius here, and today we're going to be going over 7 wrist locks that you can do from very common positions. The first 3 are going to be from standing, and then we're going to go over 4 from the closed guard, okay? So, wrist locks are unique because they are a lot of times set up based off when our opponent is grabbing us. So these are great for self-defense situations if someone's going to grab your wrist aggressively and we want to incapacitate the person or just escape and run away, okay? So normally in jiu-jitsu, if you're not a wrist lock guy, someone grabs your wrist, this just means, oh, I just have to break his grip. So you turn your thumb out, you yank your hand away, and you break his grip. But once the world of wrist locks opens up for you, the possibilities are endless, okay? So the first one is going to be if he grabs my right hand with his left hand. So it's the mirror image here. He grabs my hand with his left hand, he grips tight. Maybe I can't break the grip, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my hand up like I'm holding a teacup in my hand, okay? I want to turn it all the way up and over because I want to expose this thumb here, okay? So I'm going to turn it up and over, and I'm going to reach my other hand underneath and grab the thumb. Turn this way. So I'm here, I turn his hand up. I'm going to reach with my other hand palm up and dig my fingers onto the meat of his thumb here, where the joint connects to his hand. I grab the meat of his thumb, and now I'm going to turn my wrist up to escape his actual grip, and I'm going to drive my hand onto the top of his knuckles. And we're twisting his arm here, and I'm going to drive backwards and down, okay? So you just grab and push. If you want to be real fancy with it, you can use the back of your hand, and it looks like very Aikido-ish, but I prefer to grab like this. That way if he starts to try and squirm or wriggle, I can really maintain my control. If we were to follow through with this motion, either his wrist will break or he'll have to roll backwards to escape the position, right? So that's the first one. So here it is. Turn up, turn my wrist out, grab the hand and the knuckles, and twist them down. Go ahead and tap, Josh. Oops. Perfect. Second one will be when our opponent grabs a cross grip, like this, okay? So this is what's called the waterfall wrist lock, okay? Now, he's grabbing a cross grip on my dominant hand again. This time, I'm going to bring his hand up, and I'm going to grab his knuckles like this. So I'm bringing my hand over the top, as if I were to like be grabbing my own arm. I'm grabbing his knuckles with my fingers in. I want to have my thumb on the outside, okay? Then my bottom hand is going to rotate. My bottom hand is going to rotate from being palm up to palm down, okay? So I need to rotate it up and around so I grab the top of his wrist. So I sort of made his wrist gooseneck here, right? But I'm controlling his fingers so he can't just let go. If I don't have his fingers, he's just going to let go. So when he grabs like this, I bring the hand up, grab the knuckles, bring the hand over the top of his wrist. Now it's important that we don't continue turning because it's not going to put in pressure. This is why they call it the waterfall, because I have to just drop straight down. And it's going to bend his wrist this way. There's not a lot of movement here, okay? So when we have this position, I just drop down. He has to drop all the way down and then tap, okay? All right, the third one, okay? This one's really good for wrestling. The first 2 are kind of like Aikido moves that are adapted for jiu-jitsu, but this one's really good, especially in the no-gi situation. I like to use it a lot. So, for whatever reason, especially jiu-jitsu guys, when you put your hands up like this, they want to connect fingers with you. Everyone likes to do this. If you put your fingers up, almost 100% of the time, they're going to grab your fingers like this. So what we're going to do is when we put our fingers up and they go to reach for our hands, we're going to turn our hands out and grab his hands like this. So my fingers are along the outsides of his hand, on the pinky side. Both hands go to the outside, and my thumb interlocked into his thumbs. And I grip like this, okay? So now I have pinky control, and he has just thumb control, as you can see here. Now, I'm going to pick one side, whichever side I want. Usually I like to pick to the side that his leg is stepped forward, okay? I'm going to take tight control, squeezing really tight on his knuckles here. I'm going to let go with this hand. I'm going to reach over and reinforce my position on his hand here. Now, I'm going to twist, like so. Now, as you twist, you do this pretty aggressively because you want the guy to actually turn away. Because this position, we're not trying to finish the wrist lock so much, because once we get here, he can't turn back into us, but it can actually be hard to actually finish the wrist lock itself. But our goal is to try and get him to turn away so that I can attack the back, okay? That's how I use it, especially in wrestling. I'll be here, I'll get my grip, I'll grab it, and he'll turn away, and I'll use that so I can get to body lock control and start to attack the back. If you're really fancy, you can go for the flying omoplata from here, which is kind of a fun thing. So I grip, I'll do it from this side first. So I'm going to grip, I want to make sure, put your other leg forward. I'm going to be like mirror image or opposite sides, so my left foot's forward, his left foot's forward. I grip, I turn his hand. As I turn his hand, in the same motion, I throw my leg up and over. And then from here, I would just drive down to the ground and tap him out. Okay? One more time. Grip. If we want to take it back, we turn, grab. If we want to be crazy, we turn, throw the leg over, guide it into the omoplata. If he stays standing, I would just jump to the crucifix omoplata here and start looking for my Clark Gracie chokes. Right? Like so. Excellent. Good. Now, there's actually a fourth wrist lock from standing when someone grabs our collar. This is probably one of the most common ones you see in jiu-jitsu competition. Same side grip. He's going to grip same side. Let's turn this way. He grips same side. I'm going to grab his wrist and try and bend his palm against my chest. I'm trying to put his palm against my chest. Right now, just his knuckles are on my chest. I grab, force the palm against my chest. Now it's important I reach over the top because I'm trying to catch his knuckles in my shoulder as I force his palm to my chest, and then I grab behind his elbow. Okay? Once I grab behind his elbow, I release my left hand on his wrist and go double elbow, and then I'm going to pinch my pec in to try and turn his hand even more, and his hand is caught in my V here, as you can see. And then I drive all my weight straight down to the mat to finish it. If a guy is really tough and they're holding out, sometimes you have to drop all the way to your knees and really drive them down to the mat to finish it. Okay? Perfect timing. Moving to the next position, we're going to go from closed guard. Okay? These ones are really fun because a lot of people's closed guards, they feel limited. They can only do triangles, they can only do arm bars and Kimuras. If you have wrist locks here, it can really threaten the guy and stop him from being able to get his grip positioning on your belt and on your collar to actually stand up and break your closed guard. So what I like to do is whenever someone's trying to fight for my grips or my collar or trying to control my wrist, I try and threaten with wrist locks so that they have to worry about defending the wrist lock rather than trying to set up an escape from my closed guard. So the first one, let's say he grips my wrist here. My goal is going to be to turn my hand up and I'm trying to grab right here or over his thumb, okay? So he's going to grab my wrist, I'm going to turn up my hand, so my hand's palm to palm, and I'm going to grip around his thumb. My elbow's pointed high in the air, my other hand is going to reach around, and I'm going to go for a Kimura type grip. Except I'm not grabbing my wrist, I'm just on my elbow, on my armpit, my bicep. Elbow, armpit, bicep, in this general area here. And I'm going to bend his wrist backwards and down. At the same time, I need to bring my other leg up behind his elbow so that he doesn't have anywhere to go. If I don't block his elbow, he'll be able to drive his elbow down to the mat and pull his hand away. Okay? So I'll do it on this side so you can see. He grips here. I turn my hand over and catch the thumb. Bend his wrist. And I'm going to bring my foot to his hip and trap his elbow in the crook of my hip. Here. Bending it, coming on top, and finish it. Bending his hand backwards. So I bring my hand inside. Once it's bent, I put both hands on top and really crunch everything tight to finish. Okay? Next wrist lock. I'm going to be getting cross control on his wrist here. And I'm going to be scooting my hips out to the side and shrimping and getting what's called a reverse Kimura grip. Okay? What I want with the reverse Kimura grip is for his elbow to be right in my gut. And then my arm is going to be overhooked here, gripping my own wrist. You can see how this resembles a Kimura, but it's not. It's a reverse Kimura. Okay? Now from here, my left hand is breaking the control he has over his hand. I don't want it to be stiff, so my left hand's pulling as my right hand's pulling as my left hand pulls his wrist down and across. Then we have his wrist pinched, and then I can finish the wrist lock here. Okay? Now there's one more wrist lock that I like to use, and that's when someone, it's actually two more from the same position. It's when someone puts their hands on your armpits. Okay, this is a really effective close guard defense for him because if he puts his hands in my armpits, it's very hard for me to reach and grab his collar, reach up and grab his back, get underhooks, get overhooks, anything of that nature. So we need to attack this position, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave my left hand underneath and I'm going to focus just on this side here, okay? So as I weave my left hand underneath, I'm going to pinch my hand tight, my armpit tight over his knuckles, and I'm going to grab underneath his elbow and turn his elbow out. Okay, so this hand is reaching underneath, this hand is pulling at the elbow to turn his elbow out, and now I'm going to bring both of my hands to his elbow, and his thumb is trapped here. As you can see, I'm pinching my bicep and my armpit down on his hand, and then I'm going to yank his elbow up towards me, cranking upwards, and that's bending his wrist in my armpit, so his wrist is bending like that. So when he has his thumb on the outside, it's especially effective. I bring my elbow down to my ribs,
I turn his elbow out, and I pull everything in. Sorry, just cracked your hand there. My bad. Oops, sorry, I guess. Okay, next one. From the same position, he's going to be here, but let's say this time his thumb is on the inside, okay? Sometimes when the thumb's on the inside, it can be a little harder to finish the wrist lock itself because his hand may be able to escape out the bottom. So when his thumb is on the inside here, I'm going to reach my hand underneath. This is what's called the ankle lock wrist lock, okay? So I bring my hand underneath as if I was going for an ankle lock. And I have just his fingers and his thumb pinched in my armpit. I don't have his entire hand. It's important that a little bit of his hand is out so that I can get the good leverage under the joint of the wrist. Okay? From here, I'm attacking just like I would an ankle lock. I'm going to drive my hips upwards, and I'm going to lift my hips into the air to try and finish. If this isn't enough, but usually it is, I'm going to throw this leg over the top, like I'm going for like a leg lasso position. Now this looks weird, but he actually can't escape his hand very easily. If he tries to yank his hand out, I'm pulling really tight with my left hand, and my arm is pinched really tight, and putting my leg over the top stops him from being able to rise up to help relieve the pressure, because if I just leave my foot here, and I go to lift, he's going to be able to rise up to release the pressure. So when I throw the leg over, it stops him from being able to rise up, and then I can put really good pressure bending his wrist. And all I'm doing is taking his wrist and bending it downwards like this, in a direction it doesn't want to go.
Okay guys, so that's 8 wrist locks that you can do, 4 from standing, 4 from the closed guard. They're really effective because they're from very simple positions and you can always attack them. And even if they get their hand out, they wriggle out of it in any way, it gives them something to worry about. And they have to be on the defensive now and worried about where they put their hands because you're threatening them with wrist locks. And that's one of the most beneficial things about adding wrist locks to your game, is it just adds an extra layer of danger, which is my middle name for any of you who didn't know. Thank you for watching.